Hey 7th graders, Mr. Allard with another one of your flip lessons. Today we're going to be talking about Chipe, which is going to be our enduring issues, kind of how we talk about things throughout the year. So you should have Chipe graph cut out and taped and put into your interactive notebook on page number 18. And this is going to be the last one for this notebook check. So we should start being able to get our notebook ready to go to be handed in pretty quickly. Alright, without further ado, let's get into Chipe. That. All right. So Chipe is the definitions that we've been talking about this week, and this is going to be our enduring issues. These are things that virtually every event takes place. So let's kind of review some of our events or our words. Number one is conflict. This is a disagreement or an argument between individuals, groups, and nations. Remember, this isn't a group. This isn't, oh, I'm in a conflict because of a video game. I'm in a conflict because of somebody said something to me about in the cafeteria. You know, that may seem like a big deal to you, but what we're talking about is historical conflicts. So individuals, yes, if they're leaders of nations. Okay, groups, yes, if they're within a nation or outside of nations, and nations themselves. We can have social conflicts, economic conflicts, geographical conflicts, political conflicts, to name a few. So when we look at these in the classroom, what type of conflicts are we going to look at? Well, the American Revolution is a conflict. You could say it was an economic conflict over taxes. You could say it was a social conflict between groups of people, the Loyalists, the Patriots. You could say it was a political conflict over who should have political power in the colonies. Okay, political parties. We're going to talk about that, arriving from the Constitution. Very, very different ways of viewing different groups of people, what should be done economically, what should be done socially, what should be done politically. Our reform movements are going to be conflicts. Abolitionists want to free slaves. Pro-slavery people don't. Same thing with women suffragists. Women want the right to vote. There's some people, women and men included, who don't want to give them the right to vote. And then the Civil War is going to be one of our bigger conflicts, and that kind of wraps all those social, economic, politicals together. But these are just some of the things that we're going to be talking about during the year, that some of those issues that could revolve around the concept of a conflict. Human rights, okay? Level of fairness, justice. One people, group of people, or more do not have as much power and opportunities as others. For us, this is going to come back to, you know, a lot of what we talk about, particularly in our curriculum, is going to come back to this. Who has rights? Who doesn't have them? What are they doing to try to ensure they get them? Sometimes it's going to be a reform movement. Sometimes it's going to be a conflict into a war. Why is the group denying rights? It could be social reasons. It could be political reasons. It could be economic reasons and things like that. So when we go through this lens, we're going to have to really take a seat back and take off our 2019 goggles for a second and put on our context. I'm not saying that we're going to say these human rights violations or abuses were right, but we're just going to kind of try to understand why they were happening in that time period and why we think they are wrong, despite why they were happening. That's going to be kind of what we look at. And one of those big examples is going to be slavery. Okay, we're gonna look at the pro-slavery side of that. We're gonna look at the anti-slavery side of that. And yes, even though today we all kind of look at it as being a huge negative, there were people within that time period who thought it was a very positive social and economic way of, not necessarily looking at the word, but organizing the society. The Declaration of Independence, right, talks about all the different political and social rights people should have and how the government's not having them. The Constitution doesn't create rights. It is used to protect those rights. And reform movements kind of go out and say, you know what, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution mentioned this, but we got to go fight for those rights to votes, those rights to education, that right to have control over your body and your economics and get rid of slavery, those rights to prison reforms, those rights to, with another reform movement with prohibition and things like that. Innovation. A new method or way to address a problem which can have a positive and negative effects. I have an innovation right here, right? This is my coffee. Why is it innovative? Because I made a Keurig, right? 1 cup coffees, that's an innovation. It saves me time. I don't have to make 1 pot of coffee. I don't have to share with people. I can just make one thing for me. What you're looking at right now is an innovation, to be able to shoot these videos and be able to, you can watch these videos in the classroom, at home, on your phone, on your iPad, on a computer. All of those different things are innovations. We can connect through the internet. But one thing we've got to talk about too is the positive and negative impacts of those different types of changes. So we've been talking about one big innovation this week, the Erie Canal, right? Big time innovation, socially moving people to cities. Economically, trade is going through the roof. Politically, new different groups coming into power. Talk about negative side effects of that as well, with the environment, things like that. The cotton gin makes us be able to clean cotton faster, but a negative side effect of that for many people, it's going to increase the need for slaves. Mills and factories, going to increase our production. We can buy more things. We can sell more things. Things are going to become cheaper. But again, those environmental impacts, the impacts on workers. Telegraphs and railroads, we can communicate faster. We can travel faster, right? But then again, those environmental impacts kind of rear their head in those things. So when we talk about innovations, we're going to talk about positive and negative side effects as well. Power. Simply put, influence, control over the behavior of people. You could have social power in deciding what people are doing. You have political power, how people are voting. You could have all sorts. You could have economic power, how people are using their money. All sorts of different reasons, but you're controlling the behavior of people in some way, shape, or form. Slavery, obviously, we have a group of people controlling everything basically in life, denying many people freedom. The colonies for a long time, they had the power to run their own thing. And when the king decided, hey, we're going to decide to kind of influence our power, things did not go so well, leading to the American Revolution. The Constitution is all about power. Who has the power to do this? Who has the power to do that? Separation of powers comes from our Constitution, and we'll dig deeper into that. And then finally, political parties, both sides saying, why should we have the power? Why should you entrust us, give us your vote, so that we can make those social, political, economic decisions that are going to influence you? Environment, area around us. How you want to see the environment? Go look out the window, right? It's going to be all of those physical characteristics of the place: trees, mountains, rivers, lakes, etc. I know we're going through this kind of fast, but I'm trying to get this in so that we can kind of do a rather quick video on this. Plus, we've been talking about it a lot this week. Context of the classroom. Right after this next unit, we're going to jump into Native American cultures, all impacted by where they live. How they live impacts, or where they live impacts how they live. The colonial regions. You might want to have been a farmer and own a plantation. You're not living in Massachusetts. Why? Because of your environment. The Erie Canal. Why was the Erie Canal here? The environment. Why did they have to make the up through the geographical challenges we talked about? The environment. Okay. Why did it have such a big impact? The environment. Bring that stuff from the west to the east. North versus south. Why did the north have factories and the south have plantations? Well, besides social and economic ways, it's the environment. The environment of the north was more conducive to factories. The environment in the south was more conducive to plantations and farming year-round. Hey, I know we went through that kind of quick, but we're going to take the next couple days of really hammering down those enduring issues, looking at some current events, talking about what enduring issues that we're seeing, and how that can impact us in a variety of different ways. Looking forward to our unit tests kind of probably beginning of next week. But hopefully we got all that in. If you have any questions, as always, hit me up on Schoology. Until next time, out.